Hello dear students. Yesterday we have discussed type study of Rana Tigrina up to circulatory system. Me, K. Subhashini, Assistant Professor of Zoology, MVS Arts and Science College, Mahbub Nagar. Today we will discuss the further systems of Rana Tigrina under the type study. As you all know, we have already discussed the systematic position of Rana Tigrina as it belongs to family Ranidae, genus Rana and species Tigrina. And what are the external features? You have the points to remember. It is a cold-blooded or poikilothermic animal, and it undergoes estivation and hibernation. The body ectoderm dorsal side is normally olive green or dark in color, whereas ventral side is pale in color. The frog never, and it is the body is divided into head and trunk, and the eyes are bulged. The tympanum is present beside the two eyes, and it receives the sound signals. It has two pairs of limbs, forelimbs and hind limbs. Hind limbs have 5 digits and forelimbs have 4 digits. And the main point to remember is presence of sexual dimorphism. The male frog will have vocal sacs and a copulatory pad on the first digit of the forelimb. Then we have seen the different systems one by one. The first one we have seen is digestive system. Do you remember the parts of the digestive system? Yes, you are right. The alimentary canal starts with mouth and ends with anus, and the anus is present in the cloacal aperture. The mouth is opening into the buccal cavity, buccopharyngeal cavity, and that leads into esophagus. And in stomach, the stomach is mainly divided into anterior cardiac and posterior pyloric stomach, and then intestine. And then the main digestive glands are liver, pancreas, and intestinal walls glands. These are the important parts of digestive system, and its feeding mechanism is it feeds on insects, worms and mollusks, and its bilobed tongue swallows the prey, and the digestion of the food takes place by the action of HCl and gastric juices secreted by the stomach, and liver secretes bile juice. It is stored in gallbladder, and the pancreatic juice secreted from the pancreas comes into a common bile duct. Then undigested, so after the final digestion process, the food is absorbed by the villi, numerous finger-like villi present in the inner wall of the intestine, and the undigested solid waste material moves from the rectum and passes out through the cloaca. Then we have seen the respiratory system. A quick recap of the respiratory system will do. And frogs, they normally respire by, as you know, they are amphibious. They have aquatic respiratory system and land or lung respiratory system, pulmonary respiratory system. In the aquatic method, they use their skin, buccal cavity for the purpose of dissolved oxygen diffusion, and in pulmonary respiration they use lungs, and the lungs are present in the upper part of the trunk region. The gaseous exchange takes place through these 3 methods. And then we have seen the blood vascular system in detail. We have seen the heart and its internal structure. What are the parts of the heart? It has 3 chambers, 2 atria and 1 ventricle. On the dorsal side you can see sinus venosus, and the ventral side you can see truncus arteriosus. Do you remember? In the yesterday class we have discussed this very nicely, and here we have seen the entire vascular system. The main vascular system, what are the parts? Heart, blood vessels and blood. We have discussed the internal structure of heart, and then we have discussed the blood vessels, about the blood vessels. Blood vessels are of two types, arteries and veins. We have discussed the arterial system and venous system. And the venous system, you have to remember, the point to remember is presence of portal veins. There are two types of portal systems, renal portal system and hepatic portal system. The renal portal system, the main character of the portal system is the main renal portal system. Sorry, where it is? Yes. Yes, the renal portal system, it includes the sciatic vein, femoral vein and a pelvic vein, and a dorsolumbar vein. These are all entering the kidney and further divided into capillaries. So this is called as portal system. Whenever normally the veins are formed from capillaries and they will end into the heart, but whenever they again divided into capillaries, that is known as portal system. In frog we can see two types of portal systems, renal and hepatic. These are all for lessening the load. In the renal portal system, the heavy active for hind limbs of the frog produce more ammonia as a result of their body mechanism, and it should be cleared from the blood, as it is having mixed blood with low capacity. It has to be cleaned immediately, so they developed renal portal system, and it clears the urea formed in the blood by the heavy body mechanism of the hind limbs. And in a hepatic portal system, this hepatic portal system, it ends into the hepato or liver, hepatic region or liver region. In this, it clears of the glycogen received from the digestive parts. So up to this point we have discussed. Today we will discuss the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system in frog is well developed in the tissues, arteries, ends with capillaries. These capillaries unite with one another and form veins. As the walls of the capillaries are very thin, the fluid plasma along with the leukocytes flows out. This fluid along with the leukocytes is called This fluid plasma along with the leukocytes flows out. This fluid along with leukocyte is called interstitial fluid. It drains into blind-ended lymph capillaries. These capillaries unite with one another and form lymph vessels. The interstitial fluid that passes into the lymph vessel is called lymph. That is, the fluid devoid of the blood cells flowing out from the cells is called normally lymph. It acts as a middleman between the blood and tissues for exchange of food, water, oxygen and other wastes. The lymph vessels open into wide spaces called lymph sinuses. In frog, there are many lymph sinuses such as subcutaneous sinuses and subvertebral sinuses. Lymph from lymph sinuses is pumped into the veins by muscular, contractile and valvular structures known as lymph hearts. Frog has two pairs of lymph hearts. The first pair lies on the sides of third vertebra and pump the lymph into the subclavian veins. Second pair lie on the sides of urostyle and they pump the lymph into the femoral veins. Flow of lymph is unidirectional, flows always towards the heart. nervous system. Next we'll see the chemical coordination, control and coordination, and nervous system. In this, the control and coordination in frog is much more evolved than other lower vertebrates. It includes a neural system and endocrinal glands. That is, it is divided into two systems, endocrinal system and nervous system. What is endocrinal system? The chemical coordination of various body organs is achieved by hormones which are secreted by endocrinal glands. This is known as endocrine system. Having more endocrine glands, they are the parts of endocrinal system, and the hormones released by these endocrinal glands, they act on distant far organs. The prominent endocrine glands are, the main glands are pituitary, thyroid, parathyroid, thymus, pineal body, pancreatic islands, and adrenals and gonads. And now we will see the detailed study of nervous system, which is also an important point, important question for your exams. It is a long answer question. And the nervous system, as all you know, it is divided into CNS, PNS and ANS. What is CNS? Central nervous system. PNS means peripheral nervous system, and ANS means autonomic nervous system. First one is central nervous system, which is located in the center, that is called as central nervous system. What are the main parts? Brain and vertebral column. These are the two parts present in the central nervous system. Brain is enclosed in a bony structure called brain box. That's also known as cranium. The brain is divided into forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain includes olfactory lobes, paired cerebral hemispheres and diencephalon. You can see all these parts in this diagram, the olfactory tract, then olfactory lobes, then cerebral hemispheres and then diencephalon. So, forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Up to this part, olfactory lobes, paired cerebral hemispheres and diencephalon, this is forebrain. Up to this part, it is known as forebrain. This is forebrain. Up to this part, it is known as forebrain. And midbrain, it is characterized by a pair of optic lobes. This is the midbrain. Two optic lobes are present. Yes, here we go. This is midbrain, which is having two optic lobes, and this one is hindbrain or the back of the part of the brain. Hindbrain consists cerebellum and medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata passes out through the foramen magnum and continues into a spinal cord. So this is known as vertebral column. This is enclosed in a vertebral column. The spinal cord is also part of CNS. From this CNS, many nerves arise from the brain and spinal nerve cord. These are known as peripheral nervous system. Cranial nerves, 10 pairs of cranial nerves are raised from the brain of the frog and goes to different regions of the head, controlling the main parts of the body. Then spinal nerves, it's also 10 pairs in frog. These spinal nerves originating from the spinal cord of the frog. And the last one is autonomic nervous system. This autonomic nervous system, as we have already discussed, it is a system of nerve fibers and ganglia which controls and coordinates the involuntary activities of the visceral organs. We can divide this autonomic nervous system into two. They are sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system consists of a pair of slender longitudinal nerve chains lying one on each side of the vertebral column. Anteriorly, each chain begins in the Gasserian ganglion and passes out of the cranium through jugular foramen along with the vagus nerve. This sympathetic nervous system chain consists of 10 ganglions. These ganglions are connected to ramus communicans of spinal nerves. These sympathetic ganglia give off sympathetic nerves to the various organs. It is also called thoracolimbar outflow. The nerve endings of sympathetic nervous system secrete sympathin. Sympathin has generally an accelerator action on the activity of voluntary muscles. The next one we have to see is parasympathetic. The second part is parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system consists of ganglion located in the wall of the heart, stomach, lungs, urinary bladder, etc. These ganglions are connected to the central nervous system through 3rd, 7th, 9th and 10th cranial nerves and the spinal nerves of the sacral region. Thus, the parasympathetic system continues the cranial sacral outflow. Nerves are radiated from the ganglia of parasympathetic nervous system in the organs. Acetylcholine is secreted at nerve endings of the parasympathetic system. This acetylcholine has an inhibitory action on the activity of the visceral organs. However, these are having certain exemptions, that are the parasympathetic nervous system increases the secretions of digestive glands and peristalsis of the alimentary canal, whereas the sympathetic nervous system has inhibitory action on the digestive system. So, these two, sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, are the parts of autonomic nervous system and they counteract each other. That means they act each other to balance the nervous action and the autonomous activity. Right. This is about the control and coordination. The next system we have to study is the excretory system. What is an excretory system? The elimination of nitrogen base which are harmful to the body is carried out by a well developed excretory system. The system which expels out the nitrogenous waste from the body is called as excretory system. This excretory system of the frog consists of a pair of kidneys, a pair of ureters, urinary bladder and a cloaca. These are the parts of frog's excretory system. The first one, kidneys. Kidneys are compact, dark red and bean-like structures situated a little posterior in the body cavity on both sides of the vertebral column on the ventral side. These are mesonephric. And it has outer convex surface and inner lobed surface. Let us see the structure of the kidney also. Each kidney is made up of a large number of minute tubules called nephrons. Each nephron has a double layered cup-like structure called Bowman's capsule. A branch of renal artery called Efferent arterioles enter the cavity of Bowman's capsule and form a net known as glomerulus. Blood from the glomerulus is collected by an efferent arteriole. Bowman's capsule and glomerulus together constitute the Malpighian body. From the posterior part of the Bowman's capsule, a delicate convoluted tubule is ciliated. And in this Bowman's capsule, the blood is purified and the nitrogenous waste is extracted from the blood and it flows into the Malpighian tubules and it enters Bidder canals present in the inner margin, and then the efferent branches from these renal portal veins also join this net of vessels, and this is how the blood is purified in the kidneys. Then we'll see the next part, ureter. Two ureters emerge from each kidneys in the two ureters. These are the, you can see ureter part. This part you can see the ureter. Two ureters emerge from each kidney, and then these ureters also act as urinogenital ducts which opens into a cloaca as it carries the germ cells also. And in females, the ureters and oviduct open separately in the cloaca, whereas in males it acts as urinogenital ducts. These two ureters, they enter into a thin-walled urinary bladder, and where the excretory material is stored for a short period, and it is present in the ventral part to the rectum, and this urinary bladder also opens into the cloaca. Then we'll see the last part, cloaca, and this is the last part of the urinogenital excretory part of frog, and it acts as a part of urinogenital system. And how the frog excretes, the physiology, let us see. The waste material from all over the body are carried out by the blood into the kidneys, and then the substances like sugar, urea, salts and water are freely filtered through the glomerulus present in the lumen of the Bowman's capsule. This process is called ultrafiltration. Then after the ultrafiltration, a fluid is filtered into the tubules of glomerulus, and this is also called as primary urine. It contains many useful substances like glucose, water and salts. Such substances have to be reabsorbed, otherwise the frog will face many troubles. So it has to be reabsorbed into the capillary net present in the uriniferous tubules. Some urea and unnecessary salts are still present in the blood and are sent to the lumen of the uriniferous tubules. So this process is called tubular secretion. Then what happens after reabsorption? A finally concentrated fluid consisting some water and urea and some unnecessary salts is collected into the uriniferous tubules, and it is called urine. It reaches the urinary bladder through the collecting canals and the ureters. The urinary bladder temporarily stores the urine and periodically it is sent out through the cloacal aperture. This is the physiology of the excretion of the frog. So here we have discussed the excretory system and the nervous system of the frog, and now we'll move to the reproductive system of the frog. As you know, they are sexually dimorphic and male frogs and female frogs are different, and they are unisexual and exhibit sexual dimorphism during the breeding seasons. Males, let us discuss the male reproductive system. As we have already discussed, males acquire nuptial pads and vocal sacs in the breeding season. The male reproductive system, what are the parts? They are a pair of testes, a pair of vas efferentia, and urinogenital ducts and cloaca. These are the 4 parts present in the male reproductive system. Let us discuss the first one, a pair of testes. A pair of testes are present on the kidneys, on the upper side of the kidneys, and they are light yellowish in color and oval in shape. And they are present where they are present? They are present on upper side or anteroventral sides of the kidneys. These are held in a position by a peritoneal layer called mesorchium. This mesorchium protects the kidneys in shape and position. At the anterior testes, there are some finger-like lobes called as fat bodies. Each testis is formed by a number of seminiferous tubules. The connective tissue present among seminiferous tubules contain interstitial cells or mainly Leydig cells. This is an important point you have to remember. Leydig cells, where they are present in the connective tissues present between the seminiferous tubules of the testis of a male frog. It can be asked as a short answer question also. So you have to remember it carefully. And what is the functioning of these testes? Leydig cells. These Leydig cells, they secrete testosterone, which is responsible for the development of secondary sexual characters during the breeding season. The inner lining of the seminiferous tubules is formed by germinal epithelium, and this germinal epithelium produces spermatozoa. This spermatozoa is carried out by the vas efferentia and Bidder's canal. About 10 to 12 narrow ducts are called vas efferentia, arise from each side of the testis and open into a Bidder's canal present along with the inner margin of the kidney. This Bidder canal enters into the urinogenital ducts. This Bidder canal is connected to the ureter through the collecting tubules. Thus, the spermatozoa formed in the testis enter the Bidder's canal and pass out through the ureter. This ureter, as it is carrying the genital cells as well as the urine, it is known as urinogenital duct. The urinogenital duct dilates into a seminal vesicle just before opening into a cloaca. It stores the sperms, and the mass of the spermatozoa is discharged into the water by the male at the time of copulation, and this is called as melt. It's also a very important point you have to remember. What is melt? The mass of the spermatozoa expelled out by the male frog is known as milt. So this is about the male reproductive system. Let us move to the female reproductive system. Yes, this female reproductive system consists of a pair of ovaries and a pair of oviducts opening into the cloaca. The first one, ovaries. A pair of ovaries, irregularly lobed sac-like structures, are attached. There is no particular shape to the ovaries. They are irregular shaped sac-like structures, and they are present in the anteroventral surface of the kidneys. And during this breeding season, these ovaries reaches the maximum size, bearing many ovums. And this ovary is held in position by mesovarium. In males it is called as mesorchium. You should remember, in males it is called as mesorchium, and in ovaries it is called mesovarium. Yes, then what happens? This ovary consisting several follicles with ova in various stages of development, and whenever the breeding season comes, these ovum mature and it is released into the body cavity. Then the process of the release of ovum is called ovulation. And these ovums released by the ovulation, they will be attached to the ovaries on the upper surface and the body cavities, and these are grasped by the oviducts. The second part will see the oviducts. The oviducts are a pair of long convoluted tubular structures with a funnel-like opening on each side of the body cavity. The first part of these oviducts are like funnel-like shape, and they attract the ovums released by the ovaries into the body cavity. And then each oviduct is enlarged into a ovisac before it opens into the cloaca. These ova are stored in the ovisac. Mass of ova are released or expelled out during the copulation, and this is known as frog span. Mass of spermatozoa in male frog is called as milt, and mass of ovum in the female frog is known as frog's span. So this is the important points. So like this, at a time nearly 2500 to 3000 ova are released from a matured female frog. So then what happens? These two, the frog's milt containing spermatozoa and the frog span containing ovum are released into the water, and in water what happens? The fertilization happens and young ones or tadpoles are formed. Then these tadpoles will be developed into a mature frog after some changes. So here we have discussed the type study regarding Rana Tigrina. Hope you understand well, enjoyed the session. If you have any doubts, please ask me and call me. Thank you very much.